Hello and good evening. How the heck are you people? Good to see you. Good to be seen by you. Welcome once again to the madness, the majesty, the marvelousness that is the Delver's Dungeon. And as you can see, I have my co-host, Mr. Kyle Schuant, live and in the flesh from sunny down under. Kyle, how the hell are you?
Good. It is very sunny down under. Got the blinds out, the air conditioning on. Terrible waste of power, but I'm tired of being hot.
Oh, no. Trust me, I'm from...
Hot and sweaty is only good in company, not on your own.
Damn right. I'm from Florida, so I know all about that. Although it's been a bit chilly here. I don't particularly care for it. We need our buckets of sunshine back. Chilly. But anyway, let's see.
Chilly what? Snowing or something?
Had a couple of nights in the 30s. That's 30s in freedom units, by the way.
Oh, okay. How do you nights in the 30s? What happened?
Yeah,
did that Quaid movie come true or what? Dennis Quaid?
I don't know. I don't know. I blame the tourists. I think they brought it with them in their luggage and attached underneath their cars. And it just broke free and has infected the state.
It's the ice. That's right. The cars were iced up and it dropped off in Florida.
Yes, and it brought the cold temperatures in with it. But yeah, hopefully we'll. There's 2 seasons. Well, there's 3 seasons in Florida. There's really warm spring, 2 weeks of winter, and then summer the rest of the time. So anyway, how have you been, man? It's been a while.
What have you been watching? What have you been gaming lately?
What have I been watching and what I've been watching? Not much. A lot of stuff on YouTube. I'm like TV for me anymore is YouTube. For the most part, but there's a good amount of free to watch movies on YouTube. I watched War Games the other night. Matthew Broderick, Dabney Coleman, of course John Wood as Professor Falcon, Ali Sheedy, just a fantastic movie. Barry Corbin as the Air Force general, such a great movie. Such a great man. I mean, the whole thing is good, but honestly, I could just watch like the opening 10 minutes and the last 15 minutes to get a good, like, cold feeling in my stomach, nuclear war thriller. But the whole thing's enjoyable. So I caught that the other night while I was doing some things on the PC. Playing a lot of Fallout 4. On the PC, enjoying the hell out of Fallout 4 still. I've there's main quests and stuff. Go kill this raider, save the Commonwealth from the Institute, that sort of thing. But my big thing is I've been going to my settlements, which are, you can basically set up a radio beacon and NPCs will flock to a piece of land, and then you build them houses and give them crops and fresh water and a defense grid and that sort of thing. That's kind of been my emphasis. I roamed around in Fallout 3 and all of its add-ons, and I'm just like, guys, it's been 200 years. You guys like live in a little village that's made out of like flattened car doors and wooden shacks, and literally lying on the ground in the middle of it is a skeleton of someone who died in the bombs. It's 200 years. Get a broom, clean this mess up. So but by
the same token, you've emerged from cryo sleep. Your spouse was killed in front of you. Your son has been kidnapped, and you're messing about with the placement of somebody's doorway.
Granted, that you got me. That's
so
a valid
No.
That's a valid complaint. But I mean, my God, I built 2 or 3 high-rise condominiums for survivors to live in. They have electricity, plumbing. I've downloaded mods that like make the televisions work. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no excuse for anybody else in the Commonwealth to still be living like they're extras in the Road Warrior. I just, So I've been playing a lot of that. And of course, I've got my Monday Dungeons and Dragons game. Later tonight, we'll be live streaming AD&D. And then Friday night, we've got our inaugural Gamma World game. So I've been playing a few things. So bouncing the ball back to your square, how about yourself?
Well, I've been watching. I've been watching. So in your last one, you talked about other guy's video. The guy talking about why there aren't more black guys or black people playing D&D in the US. And that it's the demographics are different here in Australia, obviously. But it was still an interesting thing to me because obviously, we're geeks, so we want everyone to play, regardless of their background. And I went and had a look at his, and it's a pretty good video. So look at the channel RPG Elite. The guy's at pains to say his name isn't RPG Elite, it's Servant of Shiloh or something. I don't know. Anyway, but his channel is RPG Elite, and he's got a lot of good stuff. He says the emphasis of his channel is not on fantasy RPGs because there are thousands of other channels on them already. Guilty. So it's quite a good one, and you guys should go and check him out. RPG Elite.
Yes,
I watched that. I've been watching some of his, and I'm also halfway through a crazy Chinese action movie called Operation Red Sea, which is purportedly based on true events, though with the volume turned up to 11, of the Chinese Navy rescuing people when Yemen fell apart in 2015 or something. Yeah, it has lots of explosions. Those who are weak of stomach should not watch it. They do not hold back at all on the gore. There are people blown apart and screaming and all the rest. They don't hold back at all. You can find, but it is a hell of a rip-roaring action movie. You can find clips of it on YouTube where they have things like the tank doing a drift.
The tank drifting, yes. The tank drifting was quite humorous. It's like we'll grind up a cloud of dust and he won't be able to target us. And the thing about it, okay, so I have to sadly inject some realism, not to rain on Kyle's parade, but Operation Red Sea was a real thing. The Chinese did send a cargo ship and some Chinese Marines to Yemen to extricate some Chinese nationals, but it was basically this orderly kind of, okay, they'll be at the port on this day and everybody's going to walk on the ship and then we're going to sail away. And that's exactly what they did. There was
but that's what it usually is when there's evacuations. Like way back when I started in the army, there were apparently just before I joined up, the battalion I eventually ended up in had been on the tarmac ready to go when Fiji had a coup d'etat, and they were going to evacuate Australian citizens. And in the event, though the coup d'etat happened, it happened without bloodshed, and so they didn't have to evacuate all the Australian, New Zealand, and so on citizens, so they didn't end up going. But the military evacuations usually go pretty peacefully, because like you're taking over a country from a civil war or a coup d'etat or something. Why would you fire on these foreigners and their civilians? You just piss them off and make them come and interfere in your takeover of the country. So, at most there might be one or two high value individuals who you grab to be hostages so that you can win concessions later or something. But you're not going to engage in wholesale massacre of civilians and stuff. But that's there's got to be a premise for an action movie, and in an action movie, the villains have to be a bit stupid. Otherwise, the heroes might actually lose. Or even worse, there's no fighting at all, in which case, what's the movie about?
Yeah. I mean, there's a movie with Owen Wilson where he plays a Navy F-18 pilot who gets shot down over the Balkans, and it's a tense action thriller, and everything that happens in it beggars belief, and it's supposedly based on a true story of an F-16 pilot who was shot down over the Balkans. Well, he was on the ground for like 19 hours and was extricated without an issue. Now, granted, the Serbians were not in the mood to be very Geneva Convention compliant, and had they gotten their hands on them, I'm sure it would have been an ugly situation. Something about us lobbing tea lambs at them for 45 days and nights nonstop that kind of made them cranky. But he basically hunkered down. I think a couple of like overnight, he had to cover himself with leaves and brambles, and talked about being able to hear the Serbian soldiers walking around and yelling for him to come out and that sort of thing. And then a couple of gunships showed up with a Sea King and got him out of there, and they took some machine gun fire and shot back, desultory stuff, and then that was it. But that doesn't make a terribly exciting movie. Now do it. So,
No.
we get Owen Wilson going, wow, for 110 minutes. The Balkans, wow.
So also in the action realm, the computer game I've continued playing is Insurgency. So we've got a fairly tight Aussie crew now. What usually happens, we can easily get a squad of 8, which is really good. When we've got a squad of 8, things go so smoothly usually, except those damn night missions. They're always a pain in the ass. And but sometimes we'll have just 2 or 3 of us, and then all these other randoms play on, and we're like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Because a lot of guys don't even have mics or comms, so even if they wanted to cooperate, they couldn't. So sometimes they'll be more or less intelligent and just follow us along. Other times they zip ahead. But there was one where we were practicing doing room clearing, and we were doing really slowly, smoothly, and systematically. And there were 7 of us, and there was just this one random, and the random gave himself the handle "annoying pest." So we were a bit worried about him. And this poor guy was following along, and at some point he said to us, "Guys, I know that slow and steady is the way to take it to do it properly. This is a game, man. Yeah. Can we get on with it?" So the poor guy got a bit impatient. But last night, so we had a couple of good games, and then after midnight, nothing sensible happens after midnight. After midnight, we decided, hey, what if we just ran around the map, not on hardcore, but ran around the map just with pistols? Let's see how we go. You can gear the pistol up as much as you want, put all the attachments you want. So one guy got a revolver, and the game allows you, just with the revolver for some reason, to attach a scope, a sniper barrel, and a bipod. So he's going around putting his revolver on ledges and taking shots from a mile. The rest of us are running around with Desert Eagles and stuff. And then our next challenge was pick-up sticks, where we start with just a flashbang and a knife. And then the only weapon we're allowed to use is from a guy that we kill. And we use it until his ammo runs out. And then we have to take one off some other guy that we've killed.
I love it. I love it.
So when I tried the pickup sticks, I only once got a weapon, killed a guy. Killed a guy and then survived long enough to get his weapon. So I ran into a room and I killed a guy. And I was about to pick up his weapon, and I saw he had a mate behind him. So I had to run and kill, because it was like 2 yards away. So I had to run and kill him, because otherwise I'd be picking up the weapon and he'd shoot me. I ran up to kill him, and I went stab. And next I was punching him, and then he shot me dead. So I was stunningly unsuccessful. But, so sometimes there's a time to play really seriously and be tactically intelligent and stuff. And then there's other times where you just be an idiot. After midnight.
Yes, we used to have the same balance of games. I had a crew that I played Left 4 Dead 2 with for a long time. And a lot of times it was very intense. I mean, Left 4 Dead 2 is not terribly realistic, even like just in terms of gunplay and that sort of thing. But we would, it's very cinematic, very tense moments of, okay, Crazy Hermit's running for the helicopter, but he's lagging behind us and he gets mobbed, and like I'm already on the helicopter. Okay, I jump out, blazing away commons, and throw a Molotov cocktail and run over and pick him up and hit him with an auto adrenaline so he can get up, and then we get back to the helicopter under a hail of supporting fire from the guy. Like I said, very, very, very cinematically serious. But then there's other nights when we would play a game that I called You're Mobbed, where we'd get automatic, unlimited ammo, 40 millimeter grenade launchers with friendly fire turned off. So, we'd just be walking down a street and here comes a horde of commons and they'd stand around beating on somebody and yell, "Oh no, you're mobbed." And just blap, 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 just to watch our computers overload with all the body parts flying all over the place, and just casually stroll to the objective for each map and then casually stroll back for the rescue. So yes, I've enjoyed both types of gameplay.
Yeah, and after midnight, your brain's not working very well anyway, so you just whatever.
No, yeah, you're good. You're good to know which end of the gun the bullets come out of at that point.
Exactly. So
yeah,
I think even attempting something more tactically sensible wouldn't have worked very well had we tried.
Yeah, no. Kyle, speaking of sensible things for just a moment, this merits mentioning not only to you, but to our audience right now out there watching, whether you're live or you're coming in later to watch this. We have 902 subs on the channel now. We are less than 100 subscribers. Not less than 200, not 100 and change. We are less than 100 subscribers away from the great underground online gaming con. And I'm excited. I've got goosebumps, and it's not just because I'm sitting next to a concrete wall that's on the outside of the house. It's 40 degrees behind me. I am so pumped about the number of subscribers. You guys out there who've gone out and said, hey, go subscribe to this channel and check these guys out and what they do. I can't thank the community enough for getting us this close. Guys, it's just a little further. And if we keep going at the rate that
we need to get lucky like the RPG Elite guy did, because he was, one week he announces happily that he's got 500 subscribers. The following week, I think his Why Black People Don't Play RPGs video got shared around, because that's got heaps more views than all the others. And he went from 500 to about 1,600 subscribers in a week. So, and that was from a month ago. So it must have just been shared in the right place at some point.
Yeah, he did. He definitely blew up, and I don't know what pushed us like 15 viewers up over the course of the last, because it all basically hit last weekend, and then it's kind of been a steady trickle. So I don't know. I don't know what bumped us up, but it was great to see that number jump. It's so nice, and we're building a great community here, and I'm really thankful for everybody who's contributed. Just subscribing, just click the subscribe button. Absolutely. And click the bell notification. or whether you subscribe and choose to support us on Patreon. We get the link right down there if you want to do that. Just however you support the channel, you know. And I mean, if you come by and you're on YouTube and you're just like, I don't subscribe to anybody, I just watch videos that interest me, please consider clicking the subscribe. You know,
well, it's
break
like
it up a
the
little bit.
RPG Elite guy said. The RPG Elite guy said, like, if you've come and you've watched half a dozen videos, just subscribe. If you watched one and then lose interest and go away, okay, fair enough, thanks, bye. But if you watch like half a dozen, just subscribe.
Yeah,
because you're going to watch more. So
exactly. Now, I mean, you know, I had oh gosh, I think it was right after the rebranding. It's the most folks I've had on stream was on January 3rd. There were 20 people watching the stream. It was crazy, and it was so wonderful and cool to have that many people watching a stream. I'd never had that many people watch a stream. I've come close since then. It's like 17, I think we've had. But somebody, literally just some rando, said, "What is this? What is this? I think this is all fake." And I never saw or heard anything from that person again. And I don't even know what to say. Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely fake. You know, this is not a real pig. That's not a real snake. That's not even a real D20 up there, right there at the tip of my finger.
Oh, Mark Simpson reckons it's OD&D and chainmail or jousting that's caused the bump. There's a little funny thing on that. So I saw this meme shared around where somebody said an NPC idea. There's a guy in town, like there's a castle in town and it's vacant. And there's a guy in town who every time adventurers come through, he sells them the keys to the castle. And then after they've been gone a week, he then goes and changes all the locks and sells the keys to the next lot because he knows the adventurers are not going to be back for years. And he's the richest guy in town. So, you know that thing where if you pass a castle, then the knight might emerge to challenge you to joust. You can bet you can bet the keys to your castle against him.
There you go.
So there's all sorts of possibilities. You know, players are often under the impression that all the NPCs out there are honest. They're completely trusting of everyone until they find that one completely harmless person who they're extremely paranoid about. And he must be the villain.
Yes.
He's just the innkeeper, guys. They're all paranoid about him.
We've talked about this before, but there was a tendency, and I think this came in the 90s. Everybody wanted to be more grimdark than thou in whatever you were doing. You know, I played a lot of Cyberpunk and a lot of Mech Warrior, you know, giant stompy robot games in the 90s. And every DM thought he was the cleverest guy in the world running the betrayal scenario. Aha, I hired you to do this job, but rather than pay you, I've decided to betray you and turn you over to the enemies that you just defeated. Or, you know, you get to your evac helicopter and it doesn't show up and now you're stuck. Aha, what a clever game master I am. And I bet you didn't see this coming. And
that happens even in movies. It happens even in movies. My kids were watching Dora the Explorer the other day, movie.
They did a betrayal scenario.
My 5-year-old daughter was sitting there watching it and going, "He's the baddies. He's actually evil." So a 5-year-old recognizes these patterns now.
Yeah, they're so over. I swear, if I ever run a Cyberpunk game ever again, regardless of whether it's R. Talsorian's Cyberpunk or just, you know, some generic system, I'm just, you know, well, thank you for stealing this data and rescuing this scientist from the competing corporation. And here's the pay that you so richly deserve. I hope gift cards works. Is that good? Or did you want cash? There you go. All right. In fact, I'm going to bump it up 5% because
4 million in Walmart gift cards.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when the team is reaching for their guns and the deck runner is about to hack the computer, so wait a second. You're cyber ninja assassin vat grown augmented warriors are not gonna turn off their stealth units and be circling us and everything. Well, no, that's ridiculous. How could I ever maintain a decent base of employees if I just went around betraying everyone? Don't be stupid. Of course I'm paying you for the job you did. How ridiculous.
All right, boys and girls. Hex crawling. Okay, so in the description of the video, there's a link to an article about the hex crawl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so you can read that article at your leisure, but it talks about the steps that I go through when I do that. But basically, in terms of creating a little game world, you've got your two different approaches. There's a top-down. You know, I'm going to make the kingdom and then the duchies and the counties and blah, 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 and then choose a little corner for people to adventure in. Who was it talks about it? Rob Conley or something talks about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And he outlines it pretty well, and that's cool, and that works. It's a lot of work for the game master though. And if you have a sort of a more freewheeling style and an open game table with a lot of players coming and going, you maybe don't need a lot of depth to your game world. You know, if you've got this great core group of half a dozen players that stick with you for years and years, you probably need all this. You're probably going to need a large chunk of that map, a good old Greyhawk map. But if you've just got an open game table with players coming and going, you can say that hex, and that'll probably be enough for a little while. You can do a surprising amount with a small space. So now we're going to start with a little map, and there's a nice little website, hex-tml.playtest.net. The link is in my article. Okay, and you can create a map of any size you wish there, and the guy's building it over time. It's a labor of love. It's completely free. If you wish to save the map or export it, then you become a patron, or you can just take screen caps. I think you can save it, but it saves it as an HTML file, so it can be a bit tricky to work with. But if you want to be able to work with it on the site and be able to share, you could share it with players online as well, so that they could just view it, or they could actually edit themselves and so on. So what we do is we go and we look at, so Bill should be sharing a screen about.
Yeah, send me that link,
that?
Kyle, and I will
bring link, Bill?
Do I have it handy? You might need to resend it. Go ahead and resend it to me, rather than me sit there and scroll through, and we'll I'll open that up for our wonderful viewers to see.
Okay, let's see if that comes up.
All right, let's see here, and I'll copy that. And let us paste this in here. All right, I see that. And what I'm going to do, wonderful viewers and Kyle, is I'm going to share this through OBS, and then Kyle and I will kind of be shrunken down and out of the way, but you will still be able to hear us, obviously, and see what we're doing as we do it. So give me just a second here, and let me... There we go. And I will turn that on.
Boys and girls.
Oh, no. Technical triumphs. All right. So let's do this. No, let's do...
Yeah, you don't need my
that.
Either.
There
Just
we
have
go.
The screen.
Yep. There we go. And
so the screen.
And there you guys can see it.
You might have to reload the page from time to time.
Okay. I'm just gonna let's see. All right, so there we are, and that is. I will go ahead. Let's see. And that's hextml.playtest.net. I will share that link.
Yep.
Not the live one that Kyle and I are using, so you guys can't, jump in and scribble on it too, but otherwise, that is it. All right, Kyle, go ahead and take us through it.
Okay, so essentially you pick a hex, all right? They've got hex numbers. You can turn them on and off. It looks like I've got a pretty limited number of hex, but in fact the map is just infinite. It doesn't bother showing hexes if you don't have anything filled in. So you've got over on one side, you've got paintbrushes where you can paint in hills and plains and deserts and so on. And you can put in other symbols and towns and so on. For me, the interesting thing is when you go and click on one hex, you can then go text. So for example, I can change it. I've just put village as a text. I can now change the village to the word village to town. And that changes that on the map. If it's not showing up on yours, Bill, you might want to hit refresh or something. I don't know how quickly it refreshes. There we go. Yeah, so it's changed to town. So the text will, where it says just text, that will be what appears on the map when you have the overview. Then, as well, there is player's notes. When you look at each hex, there's player's notes and there are secret notes. So player notes, you'll be able to share this, if you're the game master, you'll be able to share this with players and they can make their own notes about what they saw in that hex or what happened there or NPCs and that sort of thing. Excuse me. And you can also put as secret notes. So you, the game master, might know that there's an Umber Hulk living under somebody's bed somewhere. And you can put that in there and that won't be visible to the players. So you begin with a blank hex map like that, and you pick a hex and choose some starting terrain for a starting village or town. Now, my advice is, which obviously you're free to ignore, same as all the rest, is to start small. Because if it's a really large city, maybe they don't need adventurers. They've got someone else who can do things already. Or they can send their own village militia to go out and deal with the orcs that are around or something. If you've got a pack of 100 orcs and you've got, a ducal army of 1,000, they go and deal with the orcs. They don't send adventurers to do it. But if you've got a village of like 300 people, they need adventurers. They need someone to come and deal with all the monsters that are in the surrounding hexes. So you can detail this village's significant NPCs and nobles and so on. Now, S. John Ross wrote a useful article called Medieval Demographics Made Easy, which tells you that in a realistic village or town, how many cobblers and apothecaries and so on there will be. So if you happen to care about that sort of thing, you can do that. But there's a nice random generator at the welshpiper.com website, which uses those numbers and adds in a few. And you can go there and just do it randomly. And I'm about to do that right now. So they go through regional and particular settlement. So I'm going to go through and just do it randomly on the spot. Again, these links are all in that that I wrote. So an average village, 300 people. All right. Now, what I've come up with is that the settlement occupies roughly 0.38 square miles, which is 240 acres. For reference, a hex of 1 mile across will be 0.81 or something, or 0.86 square miles. So I'm just going to copy and paste that, all that there, and my secret notes, rather than, for a proper campaign, I would, of course, type it all out. And it's come up that in that town that there's 1 butcher, 1 chandler, that's a candle maker, 3 cobblers, 1 forester, 2 furriers, and so on. There's a jeweler that may be important to PCs later when they want to convert those gems to cash or vice versa. There's a mason, a metalsmith, a miller, outfitter, physician, that could be useful to PCs, potter, a sage, that could be useful too, tailor, timberwright, woodcrafters, and yeomen. So yeah, they can all be useful to people as well, to PCs as well.
Now that's interesting.
Again, I'll go.
I was just going to say, you talk about the possibility of one of them being a sage. Per that, I mean, that's not something that players in AD&D generally think about. A small village of 300 people having a sage. That's kind of a rare resource. And if we roll with that and then fold that over into AD&D, suddenly that small, insignificant, nowhere podunk town becomes a very important place for player characters to know about.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's why, as you guys have heard me say so many times before, the dice are always right. Because if you were sitting down to just write up a village of 300 people, it probably wouldn't occur to you to stick a sage in there. Or if you did, you would say that he has to kind of be the center of the town, that he's a really important man or whatever, rather than he just happens to be there. Yeah, so when you just come up with things by yourself, you tend to come up with what seems reasonable, which will kind of give you pretty in the middle, mediocre results. When you just roll shit up, you're going to end up coming up with results which surprise you.
Yep.
So they, and then you think, okay, so there is a sage there. Well, what's he doing there? And what's his area of specialty? And there's books there's bits, in the good old Dungeon Master's Guide where you can see what the area of specialty of the sage is. Yeah. So there's no weapon crafters, there's no armorers. But cobblers and so on might presumably be able to make some leather armor, even if it's not really great. But so any armor, there's probably not a lot of good armor in this town. On the other hand, there are a bunch of nobles. The nobles might have been out of town, or they might have been able to acquire good armor and weapons from other places over the years. So the PCs aren't going to be able to just walk in and then buy themselves a set of good chainmail. it won't be available. If they want good stuff, they're going to have to go adventure.
Just so. You know, that's one thing, if I can interject.
Yeah.
So I've said before, and I'm not bragging, I'm not trying to alpha geek anybody, trust me, but you know, I worked for Gary, and he had these world building books that we were to use to help create a more believable world. And I had a huge stack of them. Now, I love AD&D. I really enjoyed working with Gary. Gary's work in AD&D is awesome. But oh my God, were they boring. Because there was not like, you know, Sage in a town of 300 people. It was, you know, a couple of pages in one of the books was just about dry hay storage versus wet hay storage. Like, that's all nice and everything, but what about the chances of having somebody in the town who sells magical potions, Gary? Because anyway.
Yeah, well, this town has got an apothecary, so maybe they have magical potions. The town also has, so they list, so this particular generator isn't necessarily aimed at D&D. But yeah, they also have 3 clerics, and but no fully vested priests. Now, in the there's an article associated with this particular random generator at welshpiper.com. In their nomenclature, the clerics are people like monks and so on, and the priests are the ones who like run a church or the like. So it would be up to the game master whether that means 3 people who can actually heal you. But I would say certainly they're not going to be like 7th level guys or whatever. But there might be some 1st level guys, and you know, like a 0 level cleric learning to become a D&D style cleric. But they're not adventuring clerics, because there's a specific category in there of adventurers floating around town. And there's something like 1 in 30,000 or something in this particular demography. So it's very unlikely to get any in a place that big. Maybe it was 1 in 3,000. But anyway, so just by rolling up the town, we've come up with a few things. Now, we need to name it. So we'll name it after the first person to comment today, which was Vincent. All right, so this is the village of Vincent.
Vincent Berg.
Vincent Berg.
Vincent Berg. After Superman. Otis Berg. Otis Berg!
All right, now we get to some dice rolling. All right, page 173. Okay, there's random dungeon generation for solo play. That's where we are. AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide, 1st edition. Appendix B, random wilderness terrain. If a wilderness expedition moves into an area where no detailed map has been prepared in advance, the random terrain determination system below can be utilized with relative ease for 1 space equals 1 mile or larger scale. Okay, so we're going to have 1 hex is 1 mile. It sounds like not much, but bear in mind, as I said, that's an area of 0.8 something square miles. And just pick any particular area of your city or your country and lay over a 1 mile by 1 mile area, and it encompasses quite a lot. Unless you live in a truly wilderness area, it encompasses quite a lot. And even in that truly wilderness area, there's going to be a lot of animals and ravines, or, you know, unless you're in the, what's called the Rub al-Khali, that southern part of Saudi Arabia, where they haven't even drawn a proper border because it's just shifting fine sand. But most people are going to live in an area where there's a fair number of features and people and animals and so Okay, in using it, however, common sense must prevail. For example, if the expedition is in the North Country, the forest will be pine or possibly scrub, while in tropical regions it will be jungle. Similarly, if a pond is indicated in 2 successive spaces, the 2 should be treated as one large body of water. In other words, roll stuff up and then try to make sense of it afterwards. That Gygax was a smart fellow. The dungeon master must also feel free to add to the random terrain as he sees fit, in order to develop a reasonable configuration. In any event, the DM must draw in rivers, large lakes, seas, oceans, and islands, as these features cannot easily be generated by a random method. As the party enters each space, generate a random number from 1 to 20. Find the type of terrain the party is currently in by reading across the page, then read down the columns. So there's a chart. Of course, there's a chart. And then after that, they've got inhabitation. Check each space for the possibility of inhabitation. Use random numbers 1 to 100. Now, and then there's also, in my method, there's a wandering monster. Now, actually, we'll get to that later. First, we'll do the random terrain. So Bill's going to do the dice rolling. First, we'll look at just north of Vincentburg. Now, the village, being a village, was just on grassy plain. Okay, so we're moving from reading across the page, yep, and down the column. Okay, so we're currently in plain. So give us a 1d20 roll, Bill.
So 13, we have entered forest. We've entered
forest, yes. So to the north of Vincentburg, there is forest. Now I can choose evergreen hill, evergreen heavy, evergreen, or forested hills. Well, let's just say evergreen. It's probably not heavy forest immediately north of the town, or because they will have chopped some down.
Right.
They'll chop some down. Now, inhabitation. Check each place. Excuse me, for the possibility of inhabitation. Use random numbers 1 to 100. So D100.
I shall grab my trusty sharp-edged game science dice.
There's only a 16% chance of anything.
So we're getting a 54, so it is uninhabited.
Uninhabited. Now, what I say is that we use a wandering monster. Because my reasoning is, see, normally you roll for wandering monsters with players, but you're not rolling to see if a monster exists in that area they're passing through. You're rolling to see if they encounter the monster as they're passing through that area.
Correct.
It's like if you watch that TV show Alone, there have been some people who quit on the first, where they take people and dump them out in the wilderness somewhere and see how long they survive. There have been some people who quit on the first day because a bear prowled around their camp at night. And they were very frightened and very unhappy. And yeah, so they quit, which, I think it's probably reasonable, but
I get Florida black bears roaming through my backyard and driveway constantly, so I'd just be like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that was their reaction. And then other people were there for 2 months and didn't see a single bear or any sign of them. And they were in the same area. So there was obviously bears wandering around. It's just that only some people rolled them up on the wandering encounter table. Now, if you are a local, if you are a dweller of Vincentburg, you're going to know about the animals that are in that hex just north of it. There's going to be stories. Somebody saw this animal. Somebody saw that monster. You're going to know about it. So when adventurers come to Vincentburg and talk to the locals, they're going to hear those stories of what's around. So this is where we look at the wandering monster tables.
What is our weather type? What is our latitude? Are we
well, let's just make it the generic temperate Okay, so then we go to on the temperate for uninhabited wilderness areas. It's on page 184. Okay, let's see what there is in the forest.
All right, let's see.
D100.
And we have demi-humans. Demi-humans.
Demi-humans, okay.
Demi-Moore, Demi-Lovato.
There's a demi-human subtable.
All right. And again, forest. These are, again, an 80. So these are gnomes.
Gnomes, okay. So now I go to there, and there's no text, right? Because the players are not going to know necessarily. It's not necessarily going to be labeled as gnomes. Okay. Now this is where I need my Dungeon Master's Guide. Excuse me, I forgot that. Sorry, my monster name. I've got like 6 Dungeon Master's Guides, but only like 3 players handles, but only one monster manual. I tend to buy them in the shop on eBay.
Kyle, you're going to want to flip to page 46.
I think my copy's there. Here, you look it up for me. Tell us about gnomes.
All right, so gnomes, we got 40 to 400. So I'm going to roll 4d4 and multiply by 10. So let's see.
Well, no, 40 to 400 would be 1d10 and multiply by 40.
All right. Or I could roll 10d4 and multiply 10 anyway. All right. Yeah. So we have 120 gnomes. Is this their home, though? We need to know. Are they just passing through, or is this their home? Well, there's a 50%.
So yes, we use that. So now there's the percentage in lair. So when you get the wandering monsters and it's percentage in lair, it's do the players come across the monster just wandering around, or do they come across its lair and find the monsters there? But in this scheme of generating the hexes, what I treat that is the chance that they actually have the lair in the hex, or they just happen to be passing through on their way to somewhere else. Because, you know, it's not only adventurers and merchants and so on that travel the world. So percentage in lair is what?
50%.
Okay.
We can roll any dice for that. These gnomes are living in that hex.
Okay, so they've got some sort of lair. All right. I might do the dice rolling from now on, since you've got the book and you're consulting it so well. All right, so what does it say in the description about gnomes? Because when we go into the description, we usually find something like they've got a chieftain and so many magic users and so many.
Okay. So let's see. For every 40 gnomes, there will be a fighter of 2nd, 3rd, or 4th level. Die roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since we don't have more than 160, we're not going to bother going through that.
Okay, so they've got a fighter of 3rd, 4th, and 5th level.
3rd, 4th, or 5th. So there will be the following.
But there's 3 of them. It's for every 40. So
oh yeah, okay. Since they're in their lair, let's see. They also have 2 to 8 fighters of 2nd or 3rd level, 1 to 4 clerics of 2nd level, and females and young. Sorry.
So they've got 2 to 8. So that's 3. They got 4 times. What do you say? 2nd level.
2 to 8 fighters of 2nd or 3rd level.
Okay, so 2nd or 3rd. Yep, 2nd level. And
1 to 4 clerics of 2nd level.
4 clerics.
Wow.
Yep.
Females and young equal to 50 and 25% respectively of the number of adult males.
Females, so 25%. So that's 30. 30 and young of half. So that's 60.
Yes. Now, interestingly, this might impact our terrain design of this hex a little bit, because it does note a gnomish lair is sometimes based on earthen burrows, although 75% of the time it will be made in rocky hill formations.
Well, it has to be earthen burrows then.
Yes. Do we want to break down weapon type by fighting gnomes?
We don't have to at the moment, except just to note. So I would just put in the notes. Check weapon and armor, etc. Because that will impact their armor class and damage and blah, blah, blah. I would just put, in my secret notes, I would. I mean, it depends how deep the GM wants to go and whether they want to take their monster manual with them. Because, like, if you've got sufficient notes here, you could run the game just by taking the player's handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide to wherever you're going to game. You don't necessarily have to take your monster manual and all the rest with you every time you game. So if you write all the details down, then you don't have to look them up later. So
now,
it's up to you, Game Master.
Something of note that I think you would want to put is that they are 80% likely to have tamed animals to serve as guards in their lair. Badgers, giant badgers, or wolverines.
Well, they don't.
They do not.
I rolled 85.
Well.
Just nobody gets attacked by giant badgers.
Greetings, Imperial Rambling. Greeting. Good to see you, my friend.
So, anything else?
Let's see. Not of note that we want to put in the hex.
Okay.
Although I think it merits, depending on what else we might find in this hex, they hate kobolds and goblins, and they gain a bonus of +1 to attack them. So if in the next hex we have kobolds or goblins, folks, we have a hook, as we say in the business. We have an adventure hook right there.
Now, we have to put the treasure, of course. What's their treasure type?
Their treasure type.
Nope. Their personal usually won't be much because they're just human. So what's their treasure type in lair?
C and Q times 20. So
is
treasure
that
type
C times? Treasure type
no,
C?
that is C, comma, Q times 20.
Okay. So treasure type C. All right. So again, I've used a random generator that's in my listed in the article from mithralandmages.com, which is a great site. And I've rolled up 6,000 silver, 4,000 electrum pieces, a couple of gems just worth 15 gold, and a 1,500 gold buckle.
I would guess that's probably on the chieftain's belt.
Yeah. Now the what was the other one? Times 20?
Q times 20, which is just gemstones. 1 to 4 gemstones. So 20, so that's 20 to 80 gemstones. 50% chance.
Okay, so I rolled up a whole stack of gems. And there's like 578 gold worth, 27 gold worth, 100, 1,209, 755. So they do have a fair bit of gold. At the moment, I'm just going to copy and paste and put that in the secret description. Even though some of them came up as no treasure and stuff. So I put that out, and I would leave that to because like you could as GM, you can fiddle around with formatting and things like that for ages rather than just having the information there. Though good formatting can make the information easier to access, so blah, blah, blah. That depends on you as a game master, how far you want to go. Anyway, those are all in my secret notes. Now, we can go back and look at the public text, because I think it's fair to say that if you've got over 200 gnomes living in earthen burrows a mile away from Vincentburg, people will know about them. Yep.
Of course. I would say they're probably on good trading terms with Vincentburg.
Well, what's gnomes' alignments?
Gnomes are typically lawful good.
Yeah, so they're lawful good. So unless Vincentburg is mostly evil, then they'll probably, get along more or less well most of the time. And if they don't get along well, then people will still know that there are gnomes to the north because they'll keep fighting them. So that's to the immediate north. All right. So now we go to the hex to the northeast, the 2-2 hex. Now we have a decision here when we roll things up, because you're going, the chance of a particular terrain is determined by the terrain you come from. You're more likely to encounter forest if you've just come from a hex with forest.
Mm-hmm.
So do we treat it as coming from Vincentburg in the plains or coming from the forest? I would treat it as coming from the forest because that leads to more interesting terrain than just having more plains.
I think you're right.
Entirely up to the game master. If you put in just plains, you're likely to get miles and miles of plains, which you may or may not want, but yeah, that's up to the game master. So I would just call it forest coming from there. All right, so what sort of terrain do we have? I'll roll my D20. 19.
19. All right, let me get up to the appropriate page. So forest 19. Why, it is a pond.
Okay. So I'll put a little, oh, that's not what I wanted. C symbol. Okay. Now let's see if this is inhabited. I rolled 27, so it won't be. There's only a 16% chance of coming across a village or a castle or something like that. Okay. The monster. So back to GM page 184.
Correct.
For any monsters.
Alrighty, so let's see.
Well,
so this is a water hex, though. This is do we treat this as an aquatic encounter?
Well, I treat it as marsh.
Marsh, okay.
Yeah, because if it's like more or less flat ground around and there's just a pond, yeah, I'd treat it as marsh. All right. Or optionally, the game master could roll for a second terrain type. So there's, how big is a pond? How big is it before you call it a lake? I don't know. Right. But could be anything from 20 foot across to half a mile across. Anyway, so we'll just call it marsh. And do you want to roll it or shall I? Oh, yep. So 65. 65. That is a snake. And we check on the snake subtable. Yes, there's a snake subtable. Snakes in my beautiful marshes. All right. Odds are it's going to be a constrictor. On a 1 to 70, it's a constrictor. On a 71 on up, it is a poisonous snake. So it is a poisonous snake. We got a, or is that a 60? Nope, it's a constrictor. 66. So constrictor, I thought it was an 8. Let's see. Snake constrictor. Okay, so in the public text, I'll just put pond. And the constrictor. Tell us about the constrictor. What's his?
They usually drop coils from above, grab prey within their coils, deliver a bite, and then constrict, causing 2 to 8 points of damage per melee round. They do not have a lair. They do not have treasure. They are 6 hit dice monsters. They are 9 feet long.
No lair, no treasure. The players are going to hate that.
Oh, yeah. We'll stop and water the horses. Thump. 1 to 2 appearing. We should have a gander and see exactly how many there are.
2.
2. Excellent.
It's a couple. It's a couple. This is why they drop on you.
Yes.
We were busy and you interrupted us. Alrighty. So the hex to the southeast.
Alrighty.
I'll roll my d20. So coming from, it won't be coming from marsh. We'll just call it coming from plains of Vincentburg this time. 10.
Aha, so it is inhabited. Let's see here. I lost my page. Hang on a second. Too many PDFs open. All right. So it's inhabited. 10 is a town. There is another town.
What kind of terrain is it?
Terrain. Sorry. So we're coming from plain?
Yeah. That was a 10.
Also plain.
Okay. Now, what is in that?
I see. Okay. I thought you'd roll a 10 for possible.
So now D100, and I got 98, so there won't be anything in there. Well, not any human habitation.
Correct.
But the monsters. Page 184. What's in it?
184. All right.
D100 planes. I rolled 83.
All right. A troll. Trolls. Classic D&D monsters. We love our trolls. That's the beauty of trolls, because I think trolls are 1 to 12, but let's double check. Yes, 1 to 12. That's a D12, Kyle.
Oh, 12.
Oh, no. Okay. 40% chance. Is this a troll lair?
Yes. They have a lair.
Okay.
Too bad they're not just passing through. Okay. Let's tell us about the lair. What kind of lair do trolls have?
There is none given, but it just says they are horrid carnivores found in nearly every clime. Given that this is plains, perhaps they're inhabiting, I don't know.
Do they build huts or something?
It does not say that they build huts. Now, all of my experience with trolls from a DM's perspective, reading modules, they are either in a natural cave and they just have heaped up piles of sticks and bones as nests, or they're wandering monsters. So I would presume that maybe they've staked out a copse of trees or something like that.
Okay, we'll make it 50-50 copse of trees, or just like a small hole in the ground that they barely fit into, making them grumpy.
Yes.
1 to 5 copse of trees. Oh, yeah, just copse of trees.
Okay. They have treasure type D.
Treasure.
Which is not a great treasure type, as I recall. But there's 12 of them. Oh, go ahead.
Is that in there? No, well, it's I mean, it's gems. So. So that's individual treasure.
No, that is for the entire nest of them.
Okay. Okay. So I rolled up 2 gems, a 500 gold onyx, and an 80 GP jasper, a potion of resistance, a +2 flail, and an oil of fumbling.
Now, I will point out that per the monster manual, the treasures listed are for the mean. For smaller amounts, divide the treasures accordingly. But if you get a max amount, multiply it by 2 or even 4 times the amount of treasure listed. So with a maximum number of trolls, you, Dungeon Master, or Kyle, even you, might want to increase that by up to...
So we'll just roll again for treasure type D.
Sure, there you go.
That's the simplest one. And there's a 2,000 gold brooch and a 1,500 gold coronet. There we go.
All right. So they don't know what to do with that, so they're extra cranky.
Okay, now, if I recall correctly, larger number of trolls are going to have some more interesting ones hanging out with them. Mark says 12 trolls 1 mile away from a town. That's a problem. Yes, perhaps they've recently moved in. Or perhaps whatever is in the next hex is keeping them at bay. We don't know. We haven't rolled it up yet.
Indeed. Or maybe Vincent Berg just moved in and the trolls are not happy about the gentrification.
The humans are Karen and Barry with their AR-15s on the lawn.
Yes. So unfortunately, the trolls, other than being horrible and having great strength and regeneration, they don't get too much more interesting.
I'm sure it says something like there'll be so many females, and
it does not.
Okay, I thought it did.
Nauseating moss green, mottled green and gray, or putrid gray. Their writhing hair-like growth on a troll's head is greenish black or iron gray. The eyes of a troll are dull black. And then we get their attacks and so on, and talks about regeneration and their sense of smell and superior infravision.
Okay. All right, so I'll roll for terrain just south of Vincentburg then.
All righty.
See if there's anything keeping those trolls at bay. 17. Coming out of plains. So.
All righty. A moment.
You might want to hit refresh so that people can see on the...
okay, yes. My apologies. Sorry about that. Let me see here. Where is my tab? There we go. Let's refresh. And then we are...
You guys can see it's growing a wee bit.
And your terrain was a 17, you said, Kyle?
Yeah.
That is mountains. That is mountains.
Mountains? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Oh, sorry, my computer is spazzing out. All right. Mountains. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. There's the mountains. All righty. Now let's see if there's anything living in those mountains. Those dwellings. Aha! 11.
11. That is a city. What is keeping those trolls at bay is the city.
Okay. See, this is where I might interfere as game master. I probably wouldn't put a city right nearby.
Would you downsize it or just skip the habitation?
I'd probably re-roll because I still like to leave it up to the dice. And if it's really insistent on there being a town there, then I'd put it.
Okay. Just for the record, if you're not following along in your Dungeon Master's Guide on page 173, shame on you. But if you're not, that is a 10,000 to 60,000 inhabitant city 1 mile away from Vincentburg. So yeah. Maybe logically speaking, we re-roll that, Kyle.
Yeah, I think so. 02. They really want there to be some sort of dwelling.
A single dwelling with a population of 1 to 12 persons.
Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. The single dwelling. All right. Who was the last person to comment that I can see? Moebius. Okay. A dwelling called Moebius. It's probably a family, really. The Moebius family. Okay. Dwelling of one D12. 7 people.
7 people. Okay.
I don't think we need to put a dwelling of 7 people in there. Well, maybe we do. The medieval demographics made easy.
I mean, it could be a traveler's inn.
Could be. It could be. So when I put that into the medieval demographics online, small thought. It comes up with nothing. There's 0 of anyone. It just comes up with 1 mansion. So there's 1 building. So maybe you could just call it a traveler's inn in the mountains.
Something up in the mountain pass for the passing folks to rest their weary bones.
Yeah, a dwelling of 7 people, eking out a living, not far from some trolls. But the trolls haven't wandered up into the mountains, apparently. Okay, so now, the monsters. And then here, in this sort of case, the game master has to make a decision. If there is a settlement there, will there be any monsters at all? I'm inclined to think usually not. Within that, less than a square mile area, they wouldn't be living there if they hadn't cleared them out. I'm inclined to think not, but that's up to the game master whether they have them or not. So I would probably not bother with monsters there. But perhaps something recent. Something might have recently moved in as well. So I don't know. Let's roll it and see.
Alrighty.
Because if something's like, you know what I mean, it might be a monster that's not in its lair. It's recently moved through the air. And they go, hey. All right, so mountains, 63.
Mountains, 63. That is an ogre. Bad news for the folks in the inn. They are besieged.
All right. How many ogres? And do they have a lair?
Now here's where we can get back into interesting monster demographics. Because when we're talking about ogres, there's young and other creatures and so on. So an ogre, 2 to 20.
9 of them.
Okay.
What's the chance in lair? Chance of their having a lair?
20%.
Okay, I rolled 41. So that's why they haven't been cleared out. They're just moving through the area. They don't have a lair. So they're either moving on the way to somewhere else or they're looking for a lair.
All right.
And that mansion looks pretty good.
When they find out it's a family of 7th level paladins.
Okay, so 9 ogres. What are they doing with themselves? Who else is in their group?
As there are only 9 of them, there's not really anything interesting. With just 9 of them, there's only a few. Now, if you want to be particularly cruel, Kyle, be particularly cruel, there is a chance that one of them is an ogre mage.
Ooh, yeah, of course. What's the chance?
All right, so Let's see. Let's see here. Ogre Magi, rare. I seem to recall, or perhaps it's under the listing for ogres.
It'll be under the listing for ogres, yeah.
Yeah. But I seem to recall seeing somewhere that there was like a 1 in 10 chance that one of them could be an ogre mage. Let's go with that. That sounds official. A 1 in 10 chance that one of them is an ogre mage.
No.
Oh, well.
They won't have lair treasure with them. So what's their personal treasure?
M for Mike times 10. Which I think is gold, whatever gold amount that is, times 10.
Yes, it's gold, and this thing's like 6 gold, 5 gold. Yeah, it's like 1d10 gold or something, I think. So that would be 90 of it, and yeah, that's I'm not going to write that down. So it'll just be like 90 times 1d10 gold, I'll call it, and I rolled 5, so 450 gold.
Not a bad haul of coin for dealing with that many ogres, but we as adventurers would certainly like to see more, wouldn't we?
Yes. Okay, so coming from the little area of Moebius into the southwestern hex, so coming from mountain, the terrain will be 12. What?
12. Let's see. That is that a depression or a hollow? No, that is a 20. A 12 from mountains is more mountains.
Okay.
Oh, and we should check the previous hex and this one, because there's only a 1 in 20 chance that there's a pass that actually leads through the range. Although with the house up there, with the Moebius household and the ogres, I would presume that at least the Moebius household has a pass, but perhaps I'm wrong.
Well, I just rolled and it said no pass between the two.
All right.
So.
Okay.
So the first thing I'll do is no pass to what is it? 2, 3. Okay, so here in those mountains, do we find a dwelling or castle? 21. No, we don't. All right. What monster lives in this hex? 33 in the mountains.
33 in the mountains. Let's see. Mountains. 33. Oh, hippogriffs.
Huh.
Approachable, at least. So let's see, hippogriffs. I feel a layer coming on. I'm feeling like they're in an eyrie up there, but I could be wrong. It could be very rare that you find a hippogriff lair. Oh yeah, only 10% chance that they're in lair. 2 to 16 appearing.
There is in fact a lair.
Wow. And number appearing?
2 to 16, you said?
Yes, sir. 2d8.
10.
Wow. Goodness gracious. So we have 1 nest for every 2 creatures, each nest containing 1 or 2 eggs or fledglings. Their treasure is Q times 5.
So one or two fledglings. So basically 15 eggs, fledglings. So the treasure, is that for their lair or individually? Q times 5, I assume.
It's per lair.
For the lair.
Yeah. Shiny rock look good lair. Plonk.
Yeah, a 200 GP sardonyx. That's it. What? Or did you say it's just times 1?
No, it's times 5. Q times 5.
Oh, times 5. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they got a bunch of gems. Where are we?
That's the spirit, Mark. I love this sort of thing. Roll the dice, then explain it. It makes it more interesting things than I could on my own. Gary
Absolutely
was
right.
a goddamn genius
it would never occur to me to like stick a bunch of trolls right next to a town, and then hippogriffs in a mountain right next to it, and gnomes immediately to the north of it. It's just, yeah. Now the hippogriffs, they don't have any kind of hierarchy. It's not like for every 5 there's a cleric or something, I assume.
Nope, just one nest for every 2. So we
I,
said
I didn't think there were 10. There's 10. So I didn't think I didn't think there would be for hippogriffs, but I think it's something that a lot of people miss with the looking at the monster manual. They tend to look at just 2 to 12 trolls or whatever, and there's a number of them, particularly amongst the things like ogres and orcs, where over this many you'll have this many fighters, and over this many you'll have this many magic users or equivalents, and that really changes things compared to just hoeing through dozens of 0 level or 1st level monsters or kobolds or whatever. That really changes things, and you start to assume that there's more intelligent people in charge, and they can start planning for adventurers to come along and prepare against them, and for example, if they have magical treasure, actually use it. So I think like one of the like if there's a +2 flail, they might actually use it. A troll probably won't, but an ogre probably will. So and an orc or something almost certainly will.
Yes.
He may not be able to. A regular orc won't necessarily recognize a flail, but like if he's a 3rd level fighter equivalent or a magic user type, will tell him, hey, that's a good flail. You use that. So, and that 1st level orc then quickly becomes 3rd level after using that magical flail a lot. So yeah, I think because once you delve into the individual monster descriptions, you get a lot more interesting things going on.
Right on.
And it also opens up possibilities for the players in their play too, because if they can recognize who the senior fighters are or magic users or whatever, and lure them out or target them or parley with them or whatever, then there becomes a lot more tactical and diplomatic and so on options for them. Makes it for a more interesting game. Okay, so the last hex that we'll do today, because I think like 6 around is enough, and I'd explain where I'd go from there too. So hex 1-1 northwest of it.
All right.
So coming from mountains, we get 18.
18. Oh, that was very close. Whoops. Come on. There we go. Okay. Mountains to mountains, and 18 is more mountains. Check for a pass through it.
Okay. So no.
That kind of explains the proximity of the gnomes, though, if Vincentburg is at the foot of a mountain range.
Yeah.
All right. Is it inhabited?
No pass. I'm just noting there's no pass to them. So Vincentberg, yeah, you can go from Vincentberg to any of those mountain hexes, but you can't go from those mountain hexes to each other without rock climbing equipment and stuff.
Or flying spells, levitate, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so is it inhabited? Let's have. No, that's a D8. I don't want that. 12.
A castle is in that mountain.
Oh, is it? And then I believe there's a roll to see if it's inhabited or something.
Yes, we're gonna skip over to page 182. Castle.
Because there's something like abandoned / inhabited or whatever.
Yes,
It
182.
Say that on the original.
So first we roll castle size and type, and that is a D percentage. Okay. Maybe now we know why the ogres aren't attacking whoever's in that castle.
I rolled 61.
61. That is a medium castle, small walled castle with keep. So this is a small. So roll percentage for inhabitants.
46.
46. Deserted monster therein.
Now, the question is there a monster therein and a monster in the surrounding hex? Because that could make it really interesting. I would say yes, because that's more interesting.
It is more interesting. Okay, so deserted monster therein.
So what monster is living in the castle, or is there a special table for castle?
It is by terrain type. So we go back to the mountainous terrain. So give me a percentage roll, Kyle.
62.
62. Come on, I know what I want here. Oh, but that ain't gonna be it. A dragon in an abandoned castle in the mountains would have just been so cool. But this is actually just more ogres. Boo! That's boring. All right. So second verse, same as the first on the ogres.
So it's what, 1d12 of them?
Yeah, I believe that was it.
Got to check. We don't want to roll the wrong dice.
All right. A 2 to 20. 1 to 12 was trolls.
All right, 2 to 20. 8 and 5, 13.
Okay, so now that we have more than 11, and they're in a lair, I mean, they're in the castle.
Yep.
We have lots more treasure. Treasure types Q, B, and S. There is a leader.
First tell me how many there are. It's because they've got more of a structure, like an ogre chieftain or something?
It does. There is a leader who is armor class 3 with 30 to 33 hit points and attacks as a 7-hit die creature. Let's see.
Anything else beside the ogre leader? There's still a 10% chance of an ogre mage, is it? Or does
yes.
Say otherwise.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there an ogre mage?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, ogre mage. Okay. So we'll come back to the ogre mage, but so we've got.
All right. So the treasure type you said was.
Treasure types are. Of course, individuals are still M times 10, but Q, B, and S.
All right. So Q times 1. I get some gems. Oh, that's wrong. Yeah, and treasure type B. So Q was is 2,000 silver. Pieces. And treasure type S. Nothing. I rolled up nothing. Sometimes you roll up nothing.
Yep.
That's what people forget about the treasure charts.
So Q and B, that's a good haul for them. But we still haven't addressed the ogre mage, or possibly ogre magi, because 1 to 6 are appearing of them.
Oh God.
All right. Otis
so
Berg, we hardly knew ye.
Are these in addition to the other ogres, or are they part of them? Like, if you roll up 6 ogre mages, are there just 7 other ogres, or?
I just went with potential for.
I would say of the ogres, there are some of them ogre mages.
Okay.
I wouldn't put them. Yeah. 2. So 2 of them are ogre mages.
So 2 of them are ogre magi. They can polymorph, so they might be appearing as normal ogres and be the ones calling the shots.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so they are in their lair. So there's 2 to 12 females who fight as normal ogres in addition.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 to 8 young that fight as goblins.
Okay, so 2 to 12. So there's 4 females. Oh, these are going to be angry ogres. There's not enough females.
Oh, yeah.
And
angry female ogres, because there's way too many males.
And the ogrelings, how many were they?
Sorry? The ogrelings, 2 to 8.
Okay. 6. Okay. So the ogre magi, what treasures do they have?
The ogre magi. Oh, by the way, there's a chance that there's prisoners.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll come to them. Let's get the treasure first.
Oh, let's get the ogre magi. Just the magic for treasure type G and treasure types R and S also.
Wow. Okay, so I rolled up for treasure type G is 700 platinum pieces, which we discard. Broom of Flying, Scale Mail +2, Elfin Chainmail +3, Slippers of Spider Climbing, a Spell Scroll with Distance Distortion, Feign Death, Chain Lightning, Ensnarement, Monster Summoning 5, and Wall of Stone.
Good Lord.
Now, heaven help the players if they actually use those.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that was treasure type G. What was the next one?
Treasure type R.
Maybe we should have kept that 10,000 people city.
No kidding.
All right. Yeah, so there's this is all gems and stuff, total value 9,500. And anything else?
Treasure type S.
So it's magical oil of potions, oil of sharpness +3, elixir of life, and oil of sharpness +5. Wow.
Good night.
This is a real one to for the players to sneak in, I think.
Yeah, no kidding.
This isn't you don't want a stand-up fight.
No.
Not even if everyone in Vincentburg was first level fighters. Okay. So chance of prisoners
is 30% chance.
Um, 0.7. So yes.
Okay, so that's 2 to 8 slaves / prisoners. And it could very well be that the ogre magi are the ones keeping them alive. No, we don't cook them. We don't. No, trust me.
Yeah. So the head of the mayor of Vincentburg says, "Bring my daughter back." ogres in my beautiful town. Yeah, so 7 prisoners. Okay, so yeah, that's a castle, and the game master, of course, would be free to map it out and effectively turn it into a dungeon, because the ogres aren't necessarily all living together in one big room together. they'll be scattered around, and they've probably got the treasure locked away because there might be rivalries between those little groups of ogres and blah, blah, blah.
I mean, if we have two ogre magi, it could be that they are rivals to one another.
Yeah, they are. All right, so now outside the castle, what monster lives outside the castle?
Oh my god.
74.
74. Trolls.
What trolls? Do trolls and ogres get along?
They do tend to get paired together in situations, as I recall, in several classic modules and adventures. So the trolls are tougher, and I mean they can regenerate to boot. So 1 to 12 of them.
But if you could charm monster or something. Oh, 12 trolls.
Oh my god.
Now we know why Vincent Berger's put out the call for adventurers.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's a pretty brutal one. Now so just hit refresh if you can.
Yeah, let me.
People will see that. So that's pretty savage, and more savage than I would have been if I'd chosen. Oh yes, Mark says it used to be 10,000 people city, but not anymore with those monsters. I would also generate the surrounding 12 hexes. So the hexes immediately adjacent to the 6 + 1 that we've done there, because there'll be more interactions too going on. Because for all we know, right next to all those ogres is a whole, dwarven city or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
So there might be other possible allies out there. The last time we did this, there was a bunch of ogres in one hex, and then a bunch of bandits in a nearby hex. And bandits, of course, don't have to be evil; they can be neutral.
Mm-hmm.
They can't really be lawful, but they have to be neutral. So you can hire them to do a job, and they'll be quite happy to take some of the treasure of the ogres and so on.
Brigands are the specific evil types.
So I think we could all agree that there's a lot of adventure in those few hexes. It would require some smart players. There's occasionally going to be, probably not troll patrols, but there might be ogre patrols, or they go out hunting and they're trying to get some food and so on. So you might be able to knock over the occasional ogre when he's on his own. The ogres or ogre magi, you'd have to decide how they work amongst themselves. Are those two rivals perhaps? That's where you can even use the NPC guide. Where is it? Dungeon Master's Guide, page 100 to 102. I suggest that you use that for the village, where you don't really need to know all the NPCs' stats, but you might want to know, their alignment and their age and so on, because if you've got, say, 3 nobles in that village, 3 guys running things, and one's lawful evil and the other 2 are lawful good, well, there might be some obvious relationships happening there.
Yeah.
And then there's the general tendencies, their personalities and so on. So you can consider how their personalities interact. There is no reason you can't do that with intelligent monsters such as ogres. An aspect of intelligence you could consider is that they will have individual personalities.
Yeah.
They won't all want the same thing. Some will be content just to sit in that old castle and feast, and others will, I want to build an ogre empire or something. I don't know. They'll want more females, perhaps. They want to smack over other ogres and get more females. So there's lots of possibilities there, and so intelligent players will be able to use those and perhaps use those divisions between them.
Yes.
To be able to sneak in and grab some of the treasure, because players tend to think of it as all or nothing, to go in, defeat the monsters, and take all their treasure. But of course, it's quite possible to go in, defeat one or two, get some of their treasure, and then piss off. So,
and I mean, the ogre magi might be completely reasonable. You know, they're like, look, help bump off my rival ogre magi, or, you know, if you massacre all these ogres, that's not so much of a trouble to us. Just, you know, the destruction of Otisburg is not high on our list of things to do because they keep us in slaves and treasure occasionally and whatnot. So. So there you have it, guys. I mean, that's when Kyle and I talk about a hex crawl, that's what we mean.
Yeah. Lord Corian says 10% chance of an ogre babe.
Hey, well, female ogre mage, she can polymorph herself. I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
Well, a male ogre mage can polymorph himself too.
Very true.
If that's the way you go. I would judge, but, you know, that's me. Yeah, so there's a lot of possibility within those few hexes. And that, in that case, is certainly more hardcore than I would ever choose for players.
Yeah,
I would never choose to put that. That's just it's too vicious.
This is an AD&D module for character levels 9 to 14.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. But the thing is, if they take it in small bites, and you know, if they do things like, because you know, you can tie it together in different ways. You can say, look, hey, maybe that castle used to belong to the gnomes 100 years ago or something. Maybe it used to belong to the gnomes. And so you tie it together and you say to them, you know, you try to cooperate with them and see how they could help you go and smack over the ogres. Because, you know, gnomes aren't going to be friends with ogres and trolls. So you know, you wouldn't necessarily get a great decisive battle, but the gnomes might be able to help you in other ways.
Oh yeah. I mean, with their clerics, you know, they could be standing by with potions to sell and what have you. And, you know, there's a sage in Otisburg. He might know things about the castle. He might have researched and studied, you know, if that's his field of expertise, ogre and ogre types or history, and say, look here, I have discovered this map amongst my dusty old books that shows a way into the castle, a secret entrance into the castle.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, if the game master is so inclined, there could be a dungeon underneath there, and that's through the secret entrance. And perhaps the dungeon has a bit more level appropriate monsters for the PCs to deal with.
Yeah,
and go through.
It's just full of drow.
9th level drow magic users. Yeah. But drow again, as I said, I would do the other 12 hexes as well, because that might give you other possibilities. You don't necessarily have to work systematically as a player. You don't have to work systematically each hex around the surrounding village and then go further out and spiral out. You could sort of bypass this. No, I put that in the too hard basket for now. I'm just going to go around, and then yes, here we have 20 orcs. Okay, let's go. And then you come back to the town and you train up, and all is good. You're in a better position.
But one thing that I think merits mentioning for any nascent dungeon masters out there is anytime you do this, if you're like, okay, you know, I'm going to start off and the party's going to be low level and it's going to be, you know, like random stuff out there, and one hex over, whether your hex is a mile, 5 miles, 30 miles, whatever, from your little village of Hamlet, come keep on the borderlands, is a huge ancient red dragon. Just as you are arbiter of the game and the dice, you know, give you a chance to tell a story that you didn't expect to, don't simply dispose of that encounter. Set it aside, bring it back, when the party is 10th, 12th, 13th level and they decide to revisit their old stomping grounds. Now put the dragon in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Have him somewhere else, or but if you create something, I mean, hoard your notes is what I'm saying. Be a hoarder of notes and ideas when they come up on charts like this. There are no bad ones. There's just ones that you might not want to use right away.
Yeah, because you could go through and generate all that and then find that there's more and more horrendous stuff around and decide that it's just all too hard for them. So, and then there's a few easier monsters to deal with. You just swap the hexes around. The spirit of Gygax isn't going to send chain lightning down from the heavens to punish you for your sins.
We think.
Well, there are far greater ones that he would have got us for already, if not that, if that was the case. Yeah. So, so you can swap them around, but in general, I wouldn't too much. I'd just say the dice are always right, and the players might decide that this whole area is just too hard, and they'll come back to it later, and they say, okay, we're going to go to. There is that city of 10,000 people that's 50 miles south. Let's go visit that. And you go visit that, and then somewhere along the way they find another village, and you roll up all that and see what comes up there.
Indeed.
But as Bill said, you keep all your notes because you can always use it later. You don't necessarily have to have a moving dungeon that wherever they go they're going to find the same dungeon. But if you decide it's just all too horrendous or all too easy and boring, you can always you keep it for later. So anyway, that's Hex on Up. That's the method I use from to generate bottom up. It's pretty compatible with an open game taping with people coming and going. There doesn't have to be a huge amount of continuity between the players and the game sessions in this way, because it's just, well, we went to that hex this time, let's go to this other one next time. The top-down method is the top-down method where you just detail everything before they go to it, like in all those great Han books. It's probably more appropriate for a kind of a tighter, longer-term group, I think. But we're big on inclusivity, on just bringing everyone into games. So we have open game tables, and we bring them on in, and they can come for 1 or 2 sessions if they want to and try it out. And so a method like this, where you just say the dice are always right and you just roll with it, then that works pretty well for that.
It truly does. It truly does. And like I said, Gary was a genius in creating these tables. I mean, just everything, just the way you can just feel things click, the mechanisms of it, just, one thing leads to another thing, and on and on and on and on. And it's just like a domino effect. You sit there and stare at a blank sheet of graph or hex paper, and pick up the dice the first time and start rolling. And man, it just feels good to watch your world or dungeon grow like that. Just like if you put a ultra high speed time lapse on a coral reef, just watching all these structures grow in, and it's great. And if you never use it exactly as it came out, you've got constituent pieces, so that's good stuff. And yes, we are gonna revisit this. We will do another hex crawl session one day, just because it's that good and you guys seem to enjoy it that much.
Yep, it's my most read article on my Viking Hat GM blog.
And it's lots of fun, people. You guys out there in the audience, you folks seem to enjoy it. So we'll be we'll be revisiting this. But Next week, something different, something else. Who knows? Hey, maybe by next week we'll have 100 more subs, and Kyle and I will have a live planning session talking about the terrible, terrible things we're going to do to characters in the con. I hope we have that difficulty. I hope we have that problem that we have to figure out what to do for the con as soon as next week. But hey, we'll take it as it happens. Now, coming up next on the show, we have live play AD&D. And don't worry, my AD&D players who are sitting patiently in the green room right now, I did not create the dungeon tonight. I am not throwing you at 2 ogre magi, 10 regular ogres, and 12 trolls living around their castle. That's not going to happen. So I promise I won't do that to you tonight. I won't do it to you tonight. I can't promise for next week.
Until Kyle comes in as guest GM.
Anyway. So anything in closing, Kyle? Anything you got for us? Any parting wisdom?
No, the dice are always right. That's
the dice are always right. I don't think anything else needs to be said on that front. So thank you.
But I'm putting them away for today.
After those rolls, they're probably smoking hot. Get your tongs to carefully lay those in their dice container.
Why do you hate the players, guys?
So they've been knocking around in your pocket for 20 years, Kyle. So that was good fun. And I wish your schedule was such that you could join us as a player on the Tuesday night game. Do you think that might be a thing?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, it would. I know, but it would be a lot of fun.
I can't game full time.
It would be a lot of fun to have Iago stop by. Maybe a guest appearance one of these days from Iago.
Dear.
All right.
I put it in his name, his plans, but nobody seemed to catch on.
I got it. I got
Iago the wizard.
Iago. Is it Iago or Iago?
I don't know.
IAGO. Anyway. So thank you so much, as always, Kyle, for stopping by. Your presence here is always appreciated. Kyle, always gestured the wrong direction. Kyle Schuant, everyone, my co-host, my friend, and all-around swell guy. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. And in just a minute here, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to add in our players in just a second, and we're going to get rolling on first edition AD&D, which you guys can watch. Too bad. Would love to have Kyle in the game. I know. I would love to have Kyle in the game. Kyle being in the game would be just fantastic. But as he says, he has duties. So let us then begin the begin. If you've been waiting patiently, like my players have, now we're a little shorthanded on players tonight, which is why I was kind of hoping Kyle could jump in, but it's understandable. But there's still plenty of adventures yet to have. So please welcome James F. Keck and Mark. Hello, good evening to you. How are you all?
Good.
Good.
Okay, so far.
Let me see here if I can get that's a little bit better. That's a little bit nicer of a layout, I think. Anyway, so yes, we are short a player tonight. Alas, the fourth player who wanted to join was not able to. But let me see if I can.
And did you scare Ricky away with all your talk of bad polearms?
I'm sorry. He was talking about bad pole arms.
Okay, you're a little staticky there, Mark. I don't know if there's some background noise or something going on there.
Lord Corion says chat can randomly roll for hireling actions in replacement. There's a streamer that my daughters watch, and I'll mention this before we jump in. I don't know, like I go through the living room and they've got the YouTube app on our little streaming box and are watching this guy. And I mean, he's an adult, he's a grown up, and he makes money playing video games on Twitch. So I guess that's a thing. But he lets his Twitch audience, like he runs a script that lets his Twitch audience control his character on screen, but he's also fighting for control of his character on screen. And he's like, I have to get from point A to point B in Skyrim or in Grand Theft Auto 5 or whatever, while my players are like dropping giant chickens or, you know, causing me to attack random strangers as I'm walking by. And it's just, it's nuts. I think that's what would happen if I gave the streaming audience control of your NPCs. You'd have, you know, well, Bob the Fighter is going to dive headfirst into the orc latrine. I'm going to take off all my armor and say I'm a little teapot. You know, we'd have stuff like that. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they'd play legit. But anyway, how are you gentlemen this evening?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing pretty good. Is my audio better?
Yes.
I'm still hearing a little staticky. I don't know what it is.
Must be your ears.
It's the snake you've got wrapped around your contact mic. All right. So to bring you guys up to speed, when last we left the party, they had scraped together the funds for Sir Average to get leveled up, and he is currently off leveling. And Jinin and James, your two characters, I need to pull up my DM's notes here on my PC.
Bejeebus.
Yes. There we are. So we actually, although we're light on players, we actually have enough characters to press ahead. You're in the city of Greyhawk. You have bought some provisions. What are your intentions, gentlemen?
Bejeebus, now that he's decided he's going to take up the sword, he's deciding he needs some extra armor as well. So he's going to go and check out maybe for some leather.
Okay.
Or studded leather possibly to kind of protect himself a little.
Now, there are certain districts in Greyhawk where asking for leather to wear will get you something very different from what your character's probably looking for, but
I think my character got an address for that sort of place, so I can help you out.
That, you know, it's very possible. It is entirely possible that yes.
No feathers, please. No.
All right, so a suit of leather armor. A suit of leather armoire. Just carrying this big wooden cabinet around on you. A suit of leather armor. I think it is 15 gold pieces. Don't quote me on that just yet, but that seems right.
5. Leather is 5.
Leather. Oh, okay. Leather is 5.
Studded is 15.
Yeah, I'll go with studded.
All right. So studded leather.
One little bit of extra protection there.
Yes. Now, are you going to wear a helm?
Might as well.
If Ricky's listening to the stream, I'm sure he's grinding his teeth. All right. So that is 25 gold pieces. Are you purchasing anything else, or do you have all of your other equipment as you prefer it?
Probably purchase some more iron rations to take with us along the way. Mm-hmm. At least 2 or 3 more weeks worth, just to be safe. 3, make it 3.
All right. Let's see. 3 weeks of iron rations is going to cost you 15 more gold pieces.
Okay. And I think he's going to stick with just his daggers. He's pretty comfortable with those. He's done well with them so far.
Right on. Right on. So Sir Average is training now. You have your 5-minute arms.
4, I believe.
4.
Only had 4.
4.
We had 2 extra.
Sir Average has 2 of them. Yeah.
Okay. So, and they being loyal to him don't take orders from you.
Yeah.
So you have your 4 men at arms and 3 characters. So there's 7 of you, and you have a clerical type and a magic user and fighters. Y'all will be fine. Where are you going and what are you doing?
Jeanine is wondering if Valoric and Bejeebus might want to go back to Castle Greyhawk. Set up shop there, see what happened to the house, and maybe make a very careful look into maybe the frogs that we heard, or even down the well.
Well, Valoric definitely has a desire to travel to the castle and get back down into the tunnels to hunt down these ghouls and other undead that he was quested with for use of the potions that he was given. However, without the tank of the party, it may be a bit dangerous for us to all go there.
Is there someplace else we can find some adventure, perhaps some cash?
Yeah, like a side quest or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can certainly there are hexes that I can populate.
12 trolls.
9 ogres, 2 ogre magi.
Yes.
Perhaps we'll look around and see if there's any kind of quest that somebody might have, like to rid of an area of
level appropriate monsters.
Trolls, not trolls, goblins, or something along those lines.
All right.
Just ask around.
So, exploring around the city of Greyhawk, looking to see what rumors you can churn up.
Yeah. Well, Corion wants to get into a hex crawl.
Well, he can get online and do it with us.
Which, by the way, to the audience, I have had some people reach out to me and ask about joining up various games. If I've missed you, if I've missed a message, hit me up again. I will put this on screen right now. Drop me an email. I've had a very stressful couple of weeks, and I'm a little absent-minded. So if you did want to join one of the weekly games, Gamma World on Friday nights or AD&D on Tuesday nights, just shoot me an email down there. Don't even go to the Discord and message me, because I darn well might miss it, and it's not for lack of caring. So just shoot me an email. I'll leave it up on the screen for the time being, since we're not Dwarven Forging right at the moment. And good, because my table is covered with stuff in addition to Dwarven Forge. Okay, so as you are walking about the city, asking around, let's see, about various and sundry things, we will assume that it is the day, that it is the morning of one of Sir Average last days of training. So I can not dump this on the floor. I don't like that.
So while he's rolling dice, Valoric, does he fill in the party with this quest he's given? How much does he give on?
Yes, the high priest of the temple at Celestian has requested that I travel to Castle Greyhawk and seek out a ghoul that is actually living in the, he said, the 3rd level of the dungeon. So most likely the cistern that we saw while we were there last, we may have to enter into that hole and delve our way down into the pits and hunt these foul fiends.
That sounds like a good thing to do. We have to be very careful when we enter, because I heard from Sir Average and actually his henchmen that have been there before that there's orcs and hobgoblins down there. It's a tight spot to get into with crossfire. So we'll have to be careful.
Yes. Again, that's why we need the tank.
Okay. You are casting about, looking for work when Jinan, there's a group of 3 people making their way in single file next to you, walking. They're coming from behind, so they kind of brush past you. You feel a definite tug on your belt, like you feel like fingers insinuating themselves into your belt pouch as the last one passes you, human female.
Do I have the time to reach out and try to snatch your wrist?
Yes. You can go ahead and just give me a 2-hit roll.
I only rolled a 6, so.
Okay. You only roll a 6. She doesn't, you just reach like that as she's pulling her hand away. She doesn't stop, turn, react, or anything, but her hand is empty.
Okay.
I'll
attempt to follow them a bit and see what they're up to.
Okay. And are you saying anything to
Valoric and Bejeebus?
Valoric and Bejeebus, yes.
Yeah. I whisper quickly. They tried to pickpocket me. I'm going to go see where they're going.
I'll watch your back. We will.
Okay. How close are you tailing them?
I'll probably give it maybe 20 feet if I can keep an eye on them.
All right.
I'm wearing some metal armor, so I'm not too sneaky.
Oh, okay. The one in the middle, a human male, as you can see now, stops briefly at a fruit stall, picks up a pear, tosses a couple of brass pieces onto the counter, and kind of glances in your direction. I mean, he has to stop, turn, toss it, looks in your direction, and keeps going as they're walking along. So he kind of got to look at you. How long do you want to follow them? Is they're going up? They're.
Are they staying in this single file?
Yes.
I'll follow them for a few blocks.
Okay.
They've seen me. But other than that, I'll just be like, okay, whatever.
All right. Okay. As you are going along, let me see. There is, stepping out of a side street, There's a fellow in leather armor. He has a pair of short swords drawn. And over just the din of the city, you can't see what's being said, but the three in front have stopped and have gotten pensive. What are you doing?
I am closing the distance a bit, staying out of melee range, but I'll be ready in case there's some trouble. I'm trying to figure out like who's who here. You know what I mean? We have some pickpockets and now a guy with drawn sword. Don't know what's going on yet.
Is the guy with the drawn swords? Does he have any kind of insignia on him or anything to represent, perhaps like a guardsman or maybe something to that effect?
No, he does not. In fact, he looks kind of like a nondescript ruffian.
Okay.
He with one of his sword, he's holding one of his short swords like this, and he kind of gestures with the other one down the alley, and 6 similarly arrayed individuals come in, and you notice that folks have moved away. Like the fruit cart seller behind you can hear the squeak and clunk as he's pushing his cart away and such.
Everybody's gone.
The good wives, the tradesmen, the harlots who are sizing you guys up for possible work have all just kind of faded very quickly.
This seems like there's some trouble. Maybe we should help. I think probably against the people with the swords.
And the one with the short sword drawn and pointing it at the group, you can now hear him say, "I told you, Halnost, we had unfinished business with you and with a guild." And they're kind of forming a semicircle, and these the one in the front draws a dagger that even in the daylight, the cold, pale daylight of this winter's Greyhawk day, you can see is shedding light, and he draws a dagger that does not similarly do that. The other two produce long swords from under their cloaks.
Ooh.
And the fellow holding the glowing dagger spits on the ground and says, "Then come, you and your fellows. My blade's thirst for blood was not quenched when I shoved it into your brother's heart." All right, they're rushing forward to James says, "I don't have a door." They're rushing forward. What are you guys doing? Combat's about to happen. You're out of doors. You were about 20 feet back, so this is definitely in melee engagement range.
Clarify, it's been a while since I've fooled with the rules on magic and armor. What could Bejeebus cast, like his ventriloquism spell? He still has that. He's memorized that one for his.
Bejeebus is elvish, half elvish.
Elven, yeah.
Elven. So yes, you can cast in armor. Elves can do that.
Okay. Do the 3 we were following, do they appear to be? They're ready to fight, right? They've drawn weapons and they're ready to throw down.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's 3 against 6?
Yeah.
It's 3 against 7. There's 7.
Oh, that's right. 6 more came out of the shadow.
Yes.
And with our hirelings, it makes us a total of 7.
Yeah.
So Geenan's going to step forward, pulling out his bow, knocking an arrow at one of those guys with the sword, saying, "Okay, everyone just calm down here."
Meanwhile, in the background, Bejeebus is going to be casting ventriloquism and try to cast a voice somewhere down one of the other alleyways saying, "What goes there? The city guard comes through."
Okay.
Yeah.
Viking at GM is throwing some great comments. "I prepared an oil flask. What matters is that 3 stood against many. That's what's important. Valor pleases you, O Crom." Okay. So weapons are out.
Yeah.
They're not heating you with your, hey, let's calm down. In fact,
sure.
Your men-at-arms are kind of, what's our play here, sir? So let's go ahead and roll some initiative, I think.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm gonna take my address down. So Mark, go ahead and give it a D6. Yeah.
3.
Okay. It is a 6. Some of the plug uglies are closing forward. Now, again, we're out of doors, so the 10-foot melee range is actually much larger. So one man is actually leaping at you, Jinin. The fellow you pointed your arrow at, actually. Now, you can drop your bow and draw a melee weapon and still engage him in melee. You are at no disadvantage to do that.
If he's closed, then I'll pull out my sword and dagger and go out that way.
James, you're casting ventriloquism. Do you know how many segments that is?
I'm looking it up right now. I didn't have it pulled up, so I want to go ahead and say that Valoric is drawing his short sword and preparing.
And that is all. That is
too. So he's ready for fight.
That is only one segment.
Okay,
but it will come a little bit later. But it might help in the ensuing melee. This might be a good thing for it happening. So the two younger looking types, the female and the male that were accompanying this one, are engaged in melee. Valoric, you've got one rushing towards you. Your men-at-arms are like, what's our play?
attack.
All right, so their weapons are out and they're rushing into attack. So we'll say that each character has one of these ruffians on them, except for Jinin. Because because the men-at-arms are there. So yes, each character has a brigand attacking them, and I will roll for them. All right. James, what is Valoric's armor class, please?
Oh boy. Let's see. Make sure I added that shield that I got from Sir Average. Yeah, he's armor class 4.
All right. I don't think that is going to hit. Let me see. So these are... Oh, no. Yeah, that completely misses you. Jinin, you are missed. We'll go, let's see.
My men-at-arms have armor class of 6 now.
Okay. Bejeebus.
Armor class 4 with that studded leather. It helped him out.
Okay. Oh yeah, the guy like sees Bejeebus like raising his hands and making gestures and such, and just like and pulls up because he doesn't want to get his nipples burned off. He knows what a magic spell is when he sees it.
He's seen a first level burning hands. It'll burn them nipples right off.
Right. So let's see. The men-at-arms are each. Let's see. So that was 1, 2, 3 attacks. 1, 2, 3. So there's really only one left to attack a man-at-arms, and that will not hit the man-at-arms. So counters for the men-at-arms. I have a miss, and I can't even read that die anymore. That's how crumbled that D20 is. So. And a hit. One of the men-at-arms hits. The men-at-arms are wielding what now? Short sword?
Short swords, yeah.
Short sword, okay. So yeah, he rips that guy good there, and then there's one more man-at-arms to attack. Let's see. That might have hit. Whoops. All right. Brigand. All right, so armor class 7, that might be a hit, but it is not. Well, no, your men-at-arms. Well, let me see. I'm going to double check because this is their level 0. Yeah, no, he just pulls back. All right, you guys, go ahead.
I got an 18 with my broadsword.
That will hit. Broadsword.
And I
Fire of Wrath.
I do a total of 7 points of damage.
He screams, and you just drive your blade right up underneath his rib cage, and he
Oops.
Yeah, is dead before he hits the ground. So Valoric.
Valoric makes a big 10 with his short sword.
10 with short sword. Let's see. And I was wrong about that. Other attack that did hit, and another one is badly wounded. Valoric 10
Probably not enough.
will not. Yeah, no, that's a whiffer. All right. Let me see. So, you city guard, what is this? Let's see. Okay, the brigands are stalwart. The 3 that you're basically fighting alongside immediately panic. So new round. What are you guys going to do?
I will, I guess, press the attack, move forward.
Yes. There's 5 of them left. Actually, let me see. I'm going to roll 12. That will hit. Okay. So there's 5 of them left. The one that came out and issued the challenge is stabbed by the fellow with the obviously magic dagger, but he's still up.
Well, Valoric is going to go ahead and take another swap with his short sword, and I guess Bejeebus is going to try stabbing with his dagger.
Okay.
Cast dagger.
Evening, Yang. All right. Then James, go ahead and roll initiative for us, please.
All right. 3.
The party will go first.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Jinin can reach up to some other thug. Some other.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. Cool. He got a 15 on his dagger, his offhand, and he got a 16 on his main hand.
All right. That will hit with your main hand.
Okay. Total of 6 points of damage.
Another one dies.
Oops.
Valoric scored a nat 20 with his short sword.
That's a hit.
For 4 points of damage.
Okay.
And Bejeebus scored an 18.
Bejeebus is the best fighter we have.
Oh, pardon me. It's a 19. It looked like an 18, but it's a 19. Even better. He got a 4.
Okay. Those guys are badly injured, but they're still up. Okay. Well, it's a long sword, so still up. Probably not going to be the tall dark man who's fighting with his two companions against the brigands. Slashes the fellow again. He staggers. He is obviously badly injured. 4 of their number are down now. So I know what they're doing in the next round. You guys going to continue to melee?
Yeah.
I'm going to advance forward. I'll be basically telling them, stand down, leave the field.
All right. They are fleeing. However, the men at arms. So you're telling the men at arms to stand down, right?
No, I'm sorry. I'm telling the ruffians, the thugs.
Oh, the
basically
thugs.
like,
Okay.
You know,
all right.
Leave the field of battle. Flee.
I'm
ordering them.
They are doing just that. However, the trio are striking at them as they're leaving.
Yeah, that's fair.
So let's see. That's a hit. And well, actually, that will probably still hit. Yep. Yep. And your men-at-arms are just watching them flee.
Bejeebus steps forward with his dagger, goes, and never come back.
So their apparent leader is cut down. The remaining 3 are beating feet. The tall one whirls on his boot heel, looks at you. He's got both blades drawn. And he says something that sounds like a catechism or a catchphrase that doesn't really apply to this situation at all. And then looks expectantly at the party.
I still have my blades out. I'm still ready. I look at him and say, I don't know what you're talking about. What's going on here? Maybe we should get out of this street.
Come with us.
We could chat.
All right. He sheathes their blades, and he and the others are beating feet.
Come on.
They are and you see that both the now, like, you've gotten a good look at them. This is his companions are barely out of adolescence, so it would be closer to say girl and boy. And they are the boy has like gingerly removes a toad sticker from the back of his own hand and drops it, and the girl is clutching at a wound on her arm and another one on her shoulder like that, and they're running up a side alley.
Lord's gonna follow. He's gonna try to heal.
Okay.
Yeah, I basically give my men quick orders, like, to stay back, watch out for people coming up behind us as we go in and follow.
Okay.
Bejeebus is going to search the bodies of the ones that fell.
He's smart.
Okay. Let's see. So I said there's 4 down. You recover 5, 8, 10. As you're scooping out the last 4 gold pieces from one of their belt pouches, you hear the tramp of armored feet and a tin whistle blowing. You have 1 round before the gendarme are upon you. What are you doing?
I'm gonna get the 2-minute arms and have them follow me down the alley that they took off in.
Okay. Mark, give me an initiative roll, please.
Me initiative roll? Sure.
Yeah.
3.
Okay. You don't see where they went, but you hear a creaking sound, like a door opening and closing. There are no doors in this alley. There is like a rain barrel next to a wall on your right. And Bejeebus and Valoric and the men at arms are streaming into the alley behind you. And you hear a blowing whistle and shouts of confusion and anger from out in the street.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused.
You went into the alley. They ducked into the alley. You lost sight of them.
Okay.
You go into the alley. The only thing you see is the rain barrel.
Gotcha.
And you hear Bejeebus and Valoric and the men at arms coming in behind you. But out in the street, you hear a great commotion, a blowing of whistle, shouts for order, probably the town guard. Or city watch, rather.
There was the creaking of a door.
Yes, you heard a creaking of a wooden door.
Is this like a dead end alleyway, or is it?
Yes, it is a dead end. It's formed by 3 buildings that are close enough that a naked greased gnome couldn't fit through the space between the buildings. And now you have that in your head. Now everyone watching the stream for now until Google turns off its servers now has that mental image. You're welcome.
Bejeebus is gonna step up and like, where'd they go? And then he's gonna start looking for like secret doors and stuff.
All right.
And Jimmy will do that against the back wall.
Okay. Bejeebus, you're actually you look around and hey, that barrel's on a pivot. There's like okay. There's like 6 inches of water in the top. You can hear the guards are yelling for order, demanding to know what's going on. They haven't come into the alley yet, but you suspect they will duck down here any minute. On your 3rd attempt, you are able to swing the barrel out, and there is an extremely narrow laddered opening that goes straight down underneath it.
Bejeebus will wave everybody over and point to the hole. Get in.
All right.
June will be last.
Okay. Roll initiative.
You'll do it, James.
Okay. 3.
We're consistent. It's always
okay. All right. So Valoric, Bejeebus, the men at arms, and then Genin, as you're scrambling down and swinging the barrel, there are 2 places for hands to swing it back around. You hear the footfalls entering the alley, and they apparently do not notice the barrel. So Who climbed down first? Was it Valoric or was it Bejeebus?
Valoric.
Valoric. Okay. It goes down about 8 feet, so it's really cramped in here. But it does open into about a 6 foot wide, 8 foot high tunnel. And given the smell, you suspect you're probably in or very near the sewer tunnels.
Lovely. Is there any light source down here?
There is not.
Okay, he's stumbling around. He's human, so he's
Yeah.
stumbling around, not able to.
All right.
My hirelings have torches in their backpacks.
Yeah, he's pulling out a torch and getting ready to light one as well.
Okay. All right. So you fumble around, you get your torches out, you get them lit, and yeah, it appears to be a dry or unused sewer. Let's see. Oh my goodness. So make a note that one of you at least will say Bejeebus has acute hearing. Bejeebus can hear very soft footfalls in the distance. You're not sure what direction it is, just because of the confusion and the running around, but it's that way. You hear soft footfalls in the distance.
Okay. I'll try to give a general direction of where I've heard the footfalls.
Okay.
And say I think they're going this way. Look for any blood trails because of the injured kids.
All right. One of the men-at-arms, actually a fellow bringing up the rear, is like, "Oh, I see it. Yes, here, droplets of blood." And he bends down and wipes it, and it's still fresh. They're going this direction.
Follow, lead the way.
How wide is this passage?
It's about 6 feet. It's about 6 feet wide.
So that's one person at a time, basically.
Yeah. Up to.
Okay. Jeanine will be up front with one of his hirelings, and we should have 2 hirelings at the back as well. They'll have a torch back there. We'll have one guy up here with a torch. We'll move quickly, but not too quickly, because
don't lose the trail.
Don't lose the trail, but we're probably going into the Thieves Guild territory, so we're not going to be wanted.
There is
foolish for us to go.
It does not take a dwarf to tell, which is good because the last dwarf you had was crushed into a bucket.
No, that was a half orc.
Half orc, excuse me, was crushed into a bucket.
Training ground.
But you can tell that the tunnel is sloping downwards, and eventually you come to a T. Well, it's not a T intersection, but the way forward there are bars across. The smell has gotten noticeably worse, and you hear running water in that direction. But you've got a T intersection on your left and on your right. The men-at-arms have been paying close attention to the dripping blood. On the left-hand side, there is an alcove. High up in the alcove, up near the ceiling, 8 feet above, is what looks like a round drain pipe that comes out of the wall, but it is completely plugged with straw and such, and the blood drips go right up to the end of the alcove and stop.
Well, I guess Bejeebus will start searching around again for any kind of.
All right.
Yeah, he's good at this. We do it.
We hope so.
He's the best fighter. He listens the best. Now he's the best person.
Neither Bejeebus nor Valoric can find anything in the niche, so it's up to Jinin.
Okay, what is it? D6?
It is. Well, I'll roll it.
Okay, you roll it. Yeah.
All right. It takes some searching around, but eventually you find that a little standpipe is actually some kind of mechanism for a secret door here also.
Mm-hmm. Open it carefully.
All right. The brick wall, you pull up on it, it grinds open, and there is a dim red glow as from lanterns or candles within.
Wow.
And you can't see it. You can't see who's saying this within. But a sibilant voice says, "Well, be quick about it. Get in and close it behind you."
Get in quickly. Close the door
String people
behind.
along.
All right.
Jinnin's on guard.
Yeah. Bejeebus has got his dagger ready.
Yeah. I tell my men, prepare for trouble.
Valoric's ready to heal somebody. He's getting his healing stuff ready. So.
Okay. There's a few wooden steps that lead upward. You know, it's like maybe 3 or 4 wooden steps, and the way forward and upward is narrow. Only one person can go at a time. So who's going first? Jinnin. Okay. Jinnin's in full armor, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And full battle rattle?
Yeah.
Okay. The middle of the 3 steps gives way, and your booted foot is immediately caught. Darkness envelops you, and you feel sharp steel pushing uncomfortably against your neck.
Ah.
And
we're completely in darkness, everyone.
Yeah, it's the vestibule, for lack of a better term, is just big enough that everybody can kind of be crammed together, and you're now all basically in darkness. And there's a blade pressing against your throat, and a voice says, "Say true, or hot blood be spilled today. Are you with the brigands?"
Hell no.
We fought against the brigands to free the children and their master.
You had this kid try to pick my pocket, but then people were attacking them, so I'm going to put a stop to that.
There's dry, mirthless laughter from somewhere out there. Very well. You hear a click and a creak in your foot. You're able to move your foot out of that. Step forward. Touch no weapons.
Okay.
Jeebus sheathes his dagger.
All right. The men-at-arms kind of stumble and grope along.
I tell my men-at-arms to, just remain calm.
So this is obviously a cistern room, but the smell is nowhere near as fierce as it was out there. It's only just a slight unpleasantness. No worse than being in an overly crowded pub. There are carpets, tapestries. There's a coal brazier in one corner of the room. A few couches, barrels, and whatnot. It's fairly comfortable, and there are openings and entrances. I mean, if this was meant to be flooded with water in the event of a storm or a flood reaching the city or something like that, you would assume that those would be channels for it all to come rushing in. But the room is dry, warm, and somewhat comfortable seeming. The fellow that you saw out there, you can see now that he's a very tall elf. His cloak is the hood of his cloak is pulled back. Or is he? Because as soon as you're observing his features, they kind of meld and change.
Ooh.
And he's a human. Unless he's an elf who just changed himself into a human. You don't know.
Majibus will ask him a question in Elven.
He answers you in flat.
Brother, why do you treat us this way when we've helped to free you from the brigand?
He says in flat, accentless Elven back to you, "'Twas a paid dance. I know not where your coin came from."
Okay.
You can see the girl is lying on a divan or a couch of some kind. She has opened her blouse and has a bandage there and one wrapped around her arm. The boy's hand is bandaged up, and he is both of them are smoking from a hookah, and the fellow regards you and says, "Well, you're obviously not with the brigands, and you obviously don't know what you're doing."
That's true.
"But I'm in your debt, and I thank you." And he bows deeply.
Valor,
priest here. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's like our priest here would like to heal your young people. Is that okay?
Go right ahead.
Okay, he'll move over and I guess he'll assess which one's the worse off. I'm assuming it's the girl. It looks like she's had a couple.
Yeah, the girl got the worst of it.
Okay, he'll go ahead and do cure light wounds on her.
Okay.
For 4 points.
All right, that seems to do the trick.
Okay, and he'll look at the boy's wounds and see how bad off he is.
Just a clean thrust through his hand.
Okay, so no major damage.
Nothing major.
He'll check the bandages and see if they're fit enough to keep him from having any infection or anything. And if he can get away with just leaving him alone, he'll let him go.
Yeah, he might not be picking pockets with that hand for a week or two, but
from a priest's point of view, that's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
I'll pat him on the hand. That'll do.
We were conducting our business as was our wont, and well, some folk who had a disagreement with us in the past ran into us in the street. You did much to aid us, and well, the guild is in your debt.
Just which guild are we talking about here? I've heard the Greyhawk has many.
We are.
The Jeebus just kind of looks up at him like, come on.
I've heard that Greyhawk has many guilds of your sort.
Oh, of our sort. Well, as case may be, the guild that is now indebted to you is one of, shall we say, acquisitions.
Yes.
Of certain hobbies and possessed of particular talents. So he steps over to just steps into a bricked alcove, and you hear some scrapings and whatnot. And he comes out and he's holding a black velvet bag in one hand. Shall we settle this in a financial way?
Sure. Do you have a problem with that, Valeric?
We don't know exactly where this financial material came from.
That is true.
But again, it's not much different than us wandering into the castle of Greyhawk and acquiring our own treasures.
We can make sure it goes to good use.
He says dryly, "Oh, I can assure you, I came by it in a most lawful manner."
That doesn't worry me. I'm not lawful. No, don't say that. But, it's you're the leader here, Jenin. It's
oh crap! Yeah. Then yes, sure. Let's just settle this.
All right. He says so. For assisting us against Deke and his men, I think perhaps he counts out 10 platinum pieces.
Ooh.
A fair bounty, wouldn't you say?
Sure. Yes.
And given the activity of the city guard, if you'd like to sit and rest yourself, avail yourselves of a bit of wine, put your feet up for a while, you're certainly welcome. Oh, and in case you're curious, this bolt hole won't be here should you decide to return.
Understandable. Sorry that we infiltrated and we're going to have to dispose of it.
Not at all. We have... we occasionally have need of places such as these. But I've said too much. Here, let me get you something to drink. And your men, of course.
No. I don't think me or my men would drink from your cup. No offense, please.
None taken. It's a wise decision when one traffics with thieves. Now, were we assassins? Well, we might already have your ears for decorations.
Was Deke of the Assassin's Guild?
No. Heavens, no. Deke and his men were common brigands. Nothing more than
Good.
Mercenaries.
Well, I'm glad I haven't picked off the Assassin's Guild.
We did overhear him speaking of avenging someone. What was that all about?
A matter of his and mine, and something you needn't concern yourself with.
Fair enough.
We're curious, but not too curious.
He smiles and says, "Yes, well, it's best to restrain one's curiosity when dealing in matters of blood and revenge."
Yeah. We probably shouldn't have gotten involved, but I'm glad we did.
Well, I am certainly glad that you got involved. I would not part with a small fortune for no reason whatever. So, I would suspect, let me see now. He goes over and moves a piece of cloth, and there's a large hourglass that he turns over and consults a little mark in it. And he says, "About here should be sundown. So you can probably depart at that point without too much chance of being seen. Just out the door. Mind that second step.
I will.
And then right the way along you came and up.
Okay.
Did he tell us his name at all?
No, he did not.
You could ask him.
Yeah, but Jeebus is in your name, good sir. In case we should need to inquire about your services in the future.
Well, if you need the assistance of the guild, I'm sure that other agents can be reached. But as for myself, Leforto is my name.
Okay.
It is the name that I give you.
Gene will get comfortable, tell his men to do the same, make sure their equipment's in good order. He's worried that his men might be feeling this all a bit strange and uncomfortable. He's trying to make sure that they're fine with it. Yeah, he needs to keep their morale up, their loyalty up.
Okay. The men are kind of spooked, but they eventually relax. One of them is let's see, having a not awful time chatting the girl up a bit.
She's too young.
Smack. Valoric's going to deny any wine, but Jeebus is going to sip readily from anything offered to him.
Okay. All right.
Well, roll up another character.
I mean, to be so Valoric does
not.
not.
No.
Okay. All right. So if no one's going to make any small talk or anything like that, time passes, and the you've been watching the reddish pinkish sand slowly fill up. Your eyes have gotten used to
the hourglass.
Yeah, exactly. Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our thieves. As time passes on, he's not rude or anything, but he doesn't really have anything to conversate about. He consults the glass a few times, and then finally the third time he looks at it and he says, I believe the hour of a convenient exit for you is upon you. Not that I wish to be rude, but I do believe it is time we part company.
Yes.
And he kind of points over at the girl and the man-at-arms and says, before I have to arrange a wedding.
Yeah, I can't afford that wedding. Come on. Come on, Carlos. Come on.
All right.
Okay. Before we depart, Jeebus is going to turn and look at him and says, should you need any assistance in the future, please feel free to look us up.
Of course. I thank you, and my guild thanks you.
Bows.
All right.
Heads
he
flip.
likewise.
Skips the second step.
Yeah.
All right. So you head back out. The brick wall grinds closed behind you, and you make your way along to the tunnel. And man, that smell. You've gotten so used with the incense and the candles and everything in the little bolt hole there, and it hits you like you're trying to inhale a Buick.
Another lovely image.
Yes. So you traipse back up through the dry sewer tunnel, groping along, find your way. Well, you've got torches now, so
Yes.
you know it's easy, and you re-enter the street.
Gene will go in first, take off around.
All right. There are not 4 city guards with spears poised waiting for you.
There's 10.
And you find yourself back in the alleyway. It is ridiculously cold. That is also one thing you got used to in the underground area, was how comparatively warm it was. Now it is probably about 20 freedom units outside. Yes, so it is a cold, late Greyhawk afternoon, early Greyhawk evening when you clamber up out of the secret door and find yourself once again on the street. So what are you and your men-at-arms doing now?
Gene wants to take a note of like what street they're on, if there's street signs or something like that, so he knows where to find this entrance if he ever needs to go down a hole again.
But will it be there?
But he knows at least one place that it might be.
Okay.
So I'll just note that he takes a note, and hopefully he'll remember it.
All right. Let's see. Now you're making me get my World of Greyhawk map out.
Haha. And otherwise, I suggest we go back to a tavern and get some warm food.
And a bath.
That was a hell, yeah, and a bath. That was a hell of a thing to stumble into.
All right, let me write to my friend Alan's page. He has a lovely map here. Let's see. So this was the street didn't have a name, but this was just before the Black Gate, down an alleyway that runs parallel to Madame Zaccarusso's rooms for rent.
Okay.
I guess we'll go back to our tavern inn, whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
This place.
Well, you have a bit more coin now.
Yes, we should figure out how we're going to divide that. It's fortunately did not give it to us in easily divisible units.
Yeah, no. 50 platinum pieces, I think he said.
Was it 50?
Sure. Yeah.
No, it was not.
Yeah,
50.
50. 50 sounds good.
It was 10.
It was 10.
So, James, you're being too honest.
I'm sorry. How much did Bejeebus get off of those corpses?
You got a total of 16 pieces of gold.
Okay.
Which for the bill of fare here is actually, that's like a good night's a good night out.
Okay.
So shall we get ourselves a beer and divvy up some cash?
Yeah.
In the corner.
Yeah.
10 silver. 10. There's 3. I'm looking at it this way: 3 characters. It's Geenan's share that goes to his people. So divide things into 3s, I guess. That's 9.
All right. So yeah, that's 50 gold pieces. That's what I was thinking of. 50 gold pieces worth of platinum, and then 14. So basically 66 gold pieces worth of loot.
That's convenient.
Yeah. So 22 each?
22 each.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll give my 4 people. It was quick work. Each one gets a half gold in electrum, or in change. So 2 gold pieces to my henchmen, hirelings.
2 each.
No.
Oh.
2 in total. So I've got 4 people. Like I did give them a big boost when we came to town, but
okay.
I can't keep shilling out that much. But I gotta keep them happy.
All right.
So they're going to get like 10 silver pieces, like here, and I'll buy them a beer, give them 10 silver pieces, have fun. But we're leaving in the morning, or whenever.
Okay.
Whenever training actually finishes, but we're leaving this time. You ready?
All right. Okay, so I'll roll for each of the men too. Damn, rolled 6 times and not a single one. All right. Oh, wait. No, there's 7 of you. That's right. Damn it. Okay. So nothing else interesting happens in the tavern that evening. You are well fed. None of you are injured, despite my best attempts.
Yeah.
And now Bejeebus has the acute hearing ability.
Yes.
So Bejeebus has a small percentage chance. It's not as good as a thief, and it will not progress, but Bejeebus has a small percentage chance of hearing something important should he choose to exercise that, and I will roll it and let you know.
Okay.
So,
Bejeebus does look at Dean and asks, you said that the thief attempted to pick your pocket. Are you sure that nothing is missing? You want to check your pouch just to be safe?
That's a very good point. Pretty sure she didn't.
Yeah, no, everything is intact.
Okay, I was just making sure that he didn't look in there and find a note or something that maybe she was trying to get out, like, help me, please.
You should have brought that up earlier. But you was just so you know, bring that up earlier.
No, I mean, they basically, it's your estimation that they were probably apprentice thieves.
Okay.
Accompanying a very high level thief.
Okay.
And given that you had a darkness spell cast on you, and he either polymorphed himself or was polymorphed, and then the polymorph went away. That may have been a very high level thief accompanying 2 apprentice thieves on guild business somewhere. But I don't want to give away too much.
We stuck our nose.
It's a name. It's not necessarily the name, but it's a name.
Exactly. So, given that we are short a player, we've had a brief adventure tonight. I think and you guys are back at the tavern. I think that's where we're going to go ahead and call it. Yeah. So I would very much like to thank our audience tonight, and just a reminder, let's check that. Let's check the big board and see how we're doing, folks. We are at 902 subs right now on the YouTube channel.
Very good.
Leaping ever closer to 1,000 and the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, or GWOC. Who doesn't like good guac? I love good guac. But anyway, so that's where we're at with that, guys. Thank you, everyone, for being out there in the audience and participating tonight. Thank you to my players, James and Mark. Next week, we will be back with Kyle. We will be back with these guys. Tomorrow night, I will be back to talk about something fun and gaming related. And then same thing on Thursday. And then on Friday, we're going to be playing a little bit of Gamma World. And if you're interested in doing that, like I said, you can feel free to hit me up. Blarg Corp, thank you very much. 8 Mobius 8. Before I go, before we wrap up though, and I understand if you gents need to dash off, but I do want to put this up. Digital Discord, Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, 8 Mobius 8, Kevin Reynolds, Joseph Lucas, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damian X247, James F. Keck. James, thank you very much. And William Smith are our Patreons, and they help keep the channel running. And I thank you. Look, I thank everybody, whether you're a Patreon, whether you're not a Patreon, subscribe, go tell people to subscribe, click that bell icon, and yeah, that's it. Guys, have a wonderful evening, and thank you all so very, very much for making it happen.